All right, we are just 1 minute past the hour and ready to begin. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining this exciting webinar on this beautiful Thursday. We're very happy to have all of you with us from across the US. I'm seeing multiple names and even across the pond in Europe. So a big thank you to everyone. Thank you so much for joining this exciting session today. Today, as you of course know from the title, we're looking at the key insights from National Tire Safety Week and how we can help pave the way to safer roads in the future. Of course, National Tire Safety Week just wrapped up, and we've got plenty of learnings, and we're very excited to share some of them with you and what we expect for in the coming year. So again, thank you everyone for joining. Now, today's session, I'm very excited to welcome three very special guests. Start with Kim Klein. She's the VP of Public Affairs at the U.S. Tire Manufacturers Association. We also have Kevin Rollwing. He's the Chief Technical Officer at Tire Industry Association, TIA. And from Anyline, I'm excited to welcome Chris Garcia, the head of U.S. Automotive. Of course, my name is Mark Babin. I'm the creative director here at Anyline, and I'll be moderating today's session. And of course, if you want any more information about this session today, all the emails will be on the screen, and we'll put them up at the end during our question segment as well. And we certainly encourage people to reach out and get further information. We're all about information today, and we want you to take as much as you can away. Now, before we begin, just a couple house rules to get us started. And of course, we love conversation, and we want to encourage questions from all of you, especially in this panel-style webinar. So during the conversation, please feel free to leave a question or a comment just on the Q&A tab in the bottom of your screen there, and you can go ahead and type your questions. If you want to remain anonymous, you're certainly most welcome to. Just click the Send Anonymously button as we have highlighted there, and you will be off and running. Just be aware that if we don't get to all your questions before the session ends and you did send it anonymously, we won't be able to get in touch with you, of course, to get that answered. But regardless, you have that option available to you, okay? Lastly, this session will be recorded, and within 24 hours, we will send you the recording, and your colleagues, of course, can watch it on demand if you want to share some of the information. Again, we're all about sharing valuable information. You want to make sure you get all of it, and your colleagues do too, if perhaps they couldn't join. So no need to take notes. This will all be recorded for you and sent to you within 24 hours. All right. So without further ado, let me stop presenting the screen. And there are all of our speakers. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Hope you're having a fantastic day. As we mentioned, I'd love to get started today by discussing, of course, Tire Safety Week, National Tire Safety Week. It just wrapped up. Lots of successes across the board, but I'd love to start today by addressing what did you expect coming into this year? So looking at the last year of tire safety and coming into National Tire Safety Week this year, what were you expecting? Kim, if I can come to you on this, of course, as the one hosting all the main events with this campaign.
Thanks, Mark. Hey, just a quick question. Can you see me or am I off camera? Yep. Okay, great. Fabulous. Okay. Sorry, I couldn't tell. Well, as I shared, and as we talk about, this is an important but often overlooked topic. And, the stats are pretty compelling, with almost more than 240 million licensed American drivers, 18 and up, almost 89% of US adults driving. National Tire Safety Week is an annual initiative by the U.S. Tire Manufacturers Association designed really to educate and empower those drivers with information that they need about proper tire care and maintenance, which is bottom line about their safety. With so many important people being, transported in cars by tires, and you think about all the industries, and not only our own families and the people we love that are friends, but you think about the industries being supported by transportation in vehicles. And, it's important that people know, what to look for. And so we try to make it very easy. We try to make it fun and engaging, and at the end of the day, we really want to empower and educate American drivers.
Yeah, absolutely. Was there a particular goal going into this year, knowing what, of course, occurred last year, looking at the work you do with the government and so on? Was there a specific goal you were after this year?
I think the more people who are talking about it, the more we can elevate the conversation and make, what Kevin and others believe is this culture shift. I think the more partners we have actively engaged and talking about it, the more Americans we can reach. That number of American drivers is pretty steep and big. And so again, the more people engaging in a dialogue around it, the more our ability to really penetrate and educate and change behavior. And so for me, they'll go always the goal is how can we invigorate energy into this? How can we create new and exciting partnerships? What are the demographics that we may not be capturing that we would like to capture? Are we doing well with consumers? Are we doing well with fleets? Are we targeting our youth where really behavioral changes start? Are we reaching families so moms and dads and grandparents and brothers and sisters can talk to each other about that? So for me, it's really, those partnerships are critical. And I always look at how we're engaging partners and what partners are jumping in. And so again, grateful to Anyline for your energy and excitement in this conversation this year, and Discount Tire and the Tire Industry Association and AAA. And we've got some exciting partnerships that are emerging and then re-emerging, which I'm always happy about.
Yeah, absolutely. With such a dynamic, changing landscape on the media front this year, having energy is, of course, such a priority. And you mentioned TAA, of course, Kevin. You guys are working a lot with the tire professionals. Did you have expectations coming into this year based on all the work you did in the past year?
Well, certainly, we're trying to encourage our members to participate in Tire Safety Week, and we know that a lot of them did Discount Tire as a member. We have other members as well that participated. Of course, from the association perspective, we do have our own consumer education component that we're always trying to push as well, because our tagline is Tire Safety starts here, and that means a lot. It starts with a technician who's properly trained. It starts with a motorist who understands the importance of maintenance, and as Kim will say, have they played their part? And I think that's kind of what we're looking at is awareness is the key. And if we can raise awareness, and we had said this before in our pregame, that if we can prevent one family from an inconvenient flat in the middle of a trip, or prevent an accident that's a result of a preventable tire failure, then our goal has been done. I mean, we're about safety, and these are incredible products, but if they're not maintained and they're not taken care of and they're not properly serviced, they're not going to perform. And people need to understand how important it is. And I know in our podcast, and Kim put that out there, that literally the size of your hand is the footprint that's on the road. And for people to understand that the greatest car in the world, if the tires are not in good shape, then you're going to have issues, and they can range from inconvenience to tragedy. And unfortunately, that's going to happen. So we can raise awareness. We're all for it. We're all in. That's why we've supported it from day one, and we're more than willing to help out any way we can.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. And I think that's exactly the top priority going into every year, no matter what the learnings are. Now, Chris, obviously coming at it from a commercial standpoint, this was the first year we were involved with something like this. We saw some incredible engagement on our side. Obviously, we had a short notice on it, but coming into the campaign, what were you kind of expecting? How have the conversations gone?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll kind of take it from two sides. I think on one side, we weren't really sure what to expect, right? In terms of, hey, engagement, and, we post pretty regularly, we're active in social, but we didn't really know what we would see. And I would say it was tremendous what we saw there, right? By far, this month was the most engagement. This week was the most engagement we've seen of the entire year, right? So it's kind of one of those things where it shows you that this topic, kind of to your point, Kim, right? When people collaborate and come together to really raise awareness around a topic, it works, right? So I think it was phenomenal from that side. And then I'm sort of in a unique position where I get to, talk face to face with a lot of our customers. And I think one thing that's been phenomenal is how this topic is also taking place and transforming organizations, right? And companies that used to manage their fleets a certain way, right, that was maybe a little more geared toward profitability, are starting to take a step back and also look at things from a serious safety standpoint, right? So it's phenomenal to see, one, the engagement on the consumer side, but also really commercially, companies starting to take this more seriously as well.
Yeah, fantastic point. And of course, Kim, coming to you now, looking at what you expected and of course, how the year went. How did the campaign go this year? What were the major learnings? What are you proud of this year?
Yeah, I mean, really, to me, I'm proud of the partner work. This year, we did something a little bit different from an association perspective. We put an infographic together that was meant to sort of be serious, but also sort of appeal to heartstrings, right? Like what's driving on your tires matters the most. And so that infographic, we put a little bit of paid behind it with an organization, and our results are just starting to come in, and I have to look, but right now we're about just over 900 online placements. And I look at sort of the where, and they've been in pretty major media outlets like the LA Times and other big papers. But I look also regionally, how are we performing in the Southeast and versus the Midwest and the South versus the Northeast. And, by far, a lot of the Southeast and Midwest is where we penetrated the most. So for me, in looking at this campaign, I'm going to go back a little bit and try to figure out how can we do better in performance in the South? How can we do a little bit better performance in the West and the Northeast? Because I want to make sure that those demographics are spread evenly. And this initiative will be this advertisement, this infographic will be up for the next 3 months. So again, I'm just giving you the initial numbers here. But we've been able to penetrate the LA Times, the San Francisco Gate, the Houston Chronicle, Chicago Trib, and the New York Daily News. And that to me is exciting because that means that reach was expanded, right? The more people that are aware, the more people that can be empowered. And so from that perspective, I'm excited about that new tool that we used. From our partner perspective, we've had new partners and continued partnerships, which always excite me because people like our partners at Discount Tire are doing really creative and innovative things. In the past, they have encouraged drivers to stop by and to do free tire checks, which, as a mom myself, I would love that and would take advantage of that for sure. And we've had Simple Tire, who also did some really great things in terms of they were on TV talking about it. They were actively engaged in earned media. Again, the goal is empowering and reaching more players. And Anyline, you guys played a huge role in that as well. And we're excited. And Chris, you have your numbers. I will also say that in terms of our partnerships, it's not, AAA has always been a key partner of ours, and they've done some incredible things on social media. Our members play an active role, and they are doing a lot too in that space with videos and with race car drivers even, and promoting tire safety tips on videos. And then I would say we have the National Lieutenant Governors Association, and they last year put forth a tire safety resolution. And as lieutenant governors, they're the number 2 in their state next to their governor. So you have lieutenant governors in the states talking about tire safety through a resolution. And we've even had Congress just recently, a week ago, we had Congressman Richard Hudson from South Carolina, and we had Congresswoman Sykes from Ohio put forth a tire safety resolution in the U.S. Congress. That excites me because their constituents are looking and their local media are looking. So we've got states, we've got commercial, we've got dealers, we've got, the whole cohort Where I'd really love to penetrate is a little bit more in our youth. And I know we can talk about that later. I'll let other people take a stab at what they're seeing in terms of outcomes.
Yeah, that's fantastic and massive achievements on all of that. I think it's a huge accomplishment, something you're trying to build on year, of course. But yeah, tremendous year in general. I think your collaborations with a lot of different organizations, with people, with us as an example, has been fantastic. Chris, maybe you can just quickly speak to that. Of course, we had our podcast come out, which we've just dropped in the chat. Talks a lot about what Tire Safety Week is and the different aspects of it and how you can get involved. So that's just in the chat now if you want to check that out and listen to that. But Chris, if you want to just comment there on what Kim said, especially from our angle.
Yeah, so one thing so I want to touch on the last thing that Kim said there, right? Which is that sort of area to penetrate, which is the new drivers on the road, so to speak, right? The youth, right? Which is really, hey, if you've been driving for 20 or 30 years, at some point, it's almost a guarantee you've changed a tire, right? You're at least moderately familiar with what you need to do and the things you'd want to look at, right? You can probably check your pressure and your tread depth. But for newer drivers, right, there's so much you're learning. So how do you take this topic and actually educate them in a manner that they can receive? And one of the things that's really neat, to go back to a partner, right, with Discount Tire, I can't speak 100% to this, right, because we'd have to have everyone on this call in an NDA, but there's some really cool things we'll say that they're doing with technology that I think are going to bridge the gap between where the new and incoming drivers are today and what they know about, the tires on their vehicle and what they're able to do and what they're able to learn and able to capture, right? So I think there's some really exciting things that are happening there. And I'm excited to kind of see how those will play out over the course of the next year to Kim's point, to actually be able to penetrate and make a difference and an impact in the younger generation.
I absolutely love that. Yeah, and I think you're spot on exactly there. It's that next generation, and that technology is going to help bridge the gap, as we're seeing in many different industries, and automotive is certainly no different. Kevin, coming to you, obviously, as someone who works directly with people on the ground, hands-on, what did you see this year? How were your expectations met? What did you learn?
Well, I mean, we obviously we were trying to push people to our consumer education videos. I mean, I think that's where you're talking about reaching this new generation. They live on their phones, so they're not going to read it. They're going to have to watch a video. So we did it, and it's funny because we made our attempt many years ago at trying to go viral, and actually, I guess you could say we've had success. But we have it's called our Tire Safety Starts With series of videos, and we have one that's called Tire Safety Starts With Proper Tire Repair, and it has over 1 million views. So, and what we did that was really unique, and this is kind of how we sold it, the viral component, if you will, was we actually put a camera inside of an inflated tire and have it drive over a nail. So instead of like somebody trying to rig it, we actually put a GoPro on a helmet mount inside of a tire and then mount it around it, put a battery operated LED lights in there so we could light it, figured out where the camera was searching on the side of the tire, and then arranged it so when the tire went through its circumference, it actually hit the nail right in that spot where the camera was. So it's a viral video moment. And we had over 5,000 views in Tire Safety Week. That's way more than we would normally get over a couple of weeks. We had probably close to 4,000 or 5,000 views of that video just in that little bit of time period right there. So again, if 5% of those people don't plug their tires, and if 5% of those people get their tires repaired properly and prevent something down the road, that's a win for TIA. We're all for that. So again, we're trying to get to this next market with more videos, and I don't know where it's going to go in the future, but we've got a good slate of them out there, and I think that's going to be our focus as well as on social media, is to keep pushing. You can get a lot of education in 4 to 5 minutes in these videos, and obviously the proper tire repair, again, was a big success for us. So that's way more than we would expect in that time period. So we're going to guess that this had a lot to do with that.
Did you see that across the board? I'm a huge fan of that video. It looks fake. It's so good.
Oh yeah, it is. It's not. It's real. It's the real
And
deal. Trust me.
so I'll ask my team behind the scenes if they can head to your YouTube and grab that video and drop it in the chat, because that's an incredible video. Like, more people need
It
to
is
see
when it shows how the tire like kind of almost slaps at the
Exactly.
ground, and you don't realize that it's like this every time. And when I'm teaching classes, I remind the students that your average car tire is about 600 revolutions per mile. Okay, so if you take 600 revolutions per mile, I drive 100 miles round trip to work back and forth when I go to the office. That's 60,000 times that tread is smacking the pavement every day. And I think when you start thinking about it from that perspective, and again, looking at it at that degree, that something really cool is going on here. And I think, again, Kim has said before, the technological advances in tires are amazing. But if they're not properly inflated, and if they're not rotated, and if you don't have alignment and you don't do your part, then it's all a waste of money, and really it's compromising your safety. So again, we're going to reach out there one at a time, and if I can spare one family, I'm good.
Yeah, I love that. That's like the perfect way. One family, one roadside incident, one accident, and we've all won. And we talk about this, finding what makes this successful, and what are we going to find successful in the year. We see a culture change, we see more happening, more activity, more knowledge being watched online, like you said, videos being watched generally. I mean, that's a huge success to see that uptick. It shows that younger generation is clicking in more, and it's tangible. We can see that. So I think that's a massive success. So looking forward then, Kim, I'll come to you. Obviously, what Kevin just said, that's a massive achievement from his side. You had a massive achievement this year. How do we turn this into success looking a year from now?
Well, I think about that a lot, and it actually keeps me up at night, believe it or not, being a tire geek. But I really think that, like, the earned media piece, getting the congressional pieces, getting the commercial businesses involved, getting the fleets involved, they're executing online. I also don't want to make it so difficult that local people can't jump in, right? I've seen in past campaigns, for example, we've had tire safety experts jump into their local high schools and walk around the high school parking lot and inspect the tires. And just think about the hundreds of tires that are there in your local high school parking lot. If you were a tire safety team and you walked around for an hour and you inspected those tires and just left a little note saying, XX tire safety team looked at your tires, you got an A+, or hey, watch out for this. That's how the local community and the grassroots piece and the behavioral changes start to take effect too, right? In addition to everything that we're talking about, local communities can get involved in that way. Boy Scouts can get involved, Girl Scouts can get involved, driver's ed can get involved, state highway patrol, your local police, your EMS. Like, I could go on and on and on, but it doesn't have to be go big or go home. It can be something as easy as what I just outlined. And I think, to Chris's point and to Kevin's point, if we were to engage, more youth in that regard and make it fun for kids, I think that would be something, looking into the future, I'd really love to harness. And I'm all for good ideas, like Anyline and Tia approach us, and we've had behind the scenes conversations, and good ideas take flight that way as well. So when you have more partners and more strategic thinking around it, it can be big and it can be local. And I think we need more of that, and to harness that and just make it easy for, anybody to get engaged where they want to.
Yeah, I love that initiative. And it takes one individual in these local communities to spark that. And I think it's an amazing goal to have for the year, because a lot of those local communities band together, becomes a large community, becomes a state, becomes a country. And ultimately, we want to see that change culturally from the grassroots up, like you mentioned as well. Kevin, obviously, that's kind of what you're looking forward to seeing as well. As you work with people, you want to see that change from the grassroots up, from the bottom up, take place, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as Kim said, going local, and we have members that are as big as Discount Tire, and then we have members that have one store in either a big town or a little city, or even in big cities. I mean, I think, again, it's that local engagement. Again, I said this in the podcast before. You don't have to wait for Tire Safety Week to get your tires checked. And again, I mean, I think anytime you're going to take a long trip, anytime you're going to, you're going to be driving with a full load or a car full of people, those are the good times. I mean, just to get somebody to check it out, have a professional check it out. I think from the youth standpoint, I know that, I'm involved in Boy Scouts. My son's an Eagle Scout, and I grew up in it, and they all know that I'm in the business kind of, so they all come to me with their questions on cars. And the biggest surprise that they have is how expensive they are to buy, maintain, put fuel in them, put tires on them. So I think those are some other opportunities that we can get with today's youth, is that they're a little more conscious of how they're spending their money in that regard, and to let them know that you're going to get a lot more out of your money if you play your part. I mean, again, we'll pivot back again to USTMA and their play your part program. So again, if we can get them to understand that, you're going to improve safety and lower your costs, which is more money to buy YouTube videos and do all that other stuff that this generation does. I mean, I'm not a streamer, so I'm trying to get off a cable and satellite right now. So I'm kind of a dinosaur in that regard. But you've got to reach out to this generation, and they learn by video. So again, we'll keep pushing the other videos. I'm happy that tire repair got so much play, but I would have loved to have seen tire inspection get some play, and tire inflation get some play, and TPMS. I'd love to see that. So I think we're going to probably try and push more in those areas moving forward, to say, look, it's great that we have this cool viral video here, but there's a lot of other good content over there, including how to put on your spare. So again, how can we get these messages out there? How can we get our members to use their social media and their local platforms to reach out there as well? So I think there's a lot of opportunity there, and we're excited about where it's headed.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you should be. Now, speaking of the viral video, we did find it. So big kudos to my team behind the scenes. So it's in the chat. I would definitely recommend you save that link. It's not hard to find. It's got 1 million+ views, as you said.
Yeah.
But as Kevin said, go through this channel. It's super helpful, even just to refresh yourself on how to do a lot of this stuff. And that's, a couple of minutes could save you a big incident, especially when we talk preventative side, which is fantastic. So definitely go check that out. Chris, I'd love
to have the dealers and real quick, have the dealers link to it.
Fantastic.
That's the thing, is they can link to it on their social. I think you're always looking for good content, in social media, and it's right there. Just put the link in the post and say, here, go check this out. It's not commercial. USTMA does a great job of that too. We don't want to be commercial. We're not doing commercials for anybody. So it's USTMA speaks as one voice for all their members. We're speaking as one voice for the industry. We're not promoting anything other than safety and best practices. That's what we're promoting. And I think that generic look and feel and design can appeal to that business that's trying to have a local impact.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. And that's a brilliant part about the campaign and working with both of your associations. It comes from an authentic place, both of it, which is why we were so excited to get involved as well, to help spread that message in that way. Speaking of that message, Chris, coming to you, obviously looking towards the next year, conversations you're going to have, conversations you're having today, based on what Kevin and Kim said, what are we looking forward to?
So I a lot is the short answer, right? I think what's incredible is we've been approached by, on a commercial side, right? We've been approached by some massive companies, massive fleets that are looking to make huge changes into their safety practices, right? And to really, leverage technology, leverage best practices that we have today that, to Kevin's earlier point, didn't exist 20 years ago, if we're being honest, right? To get with the times, right? And actually, make an impact. The other thing I really like, and this will be interesting to see, right? I don't know. I think maybe Kevin, this might, for either you or Kim here, maybe one of y'all can start the TikTok taught me of that hashtag TikTok taught me of tire safety, right? Maybe that's the future. But I would love to see that though, right? Something like that would be really, really cool on a consumer side. Especially when you think about, to the point of, hey, this is a week, but it's really not a week, right? This is a culture shift, right? You're trying to take this, and to Kim's point, it starts in neighborhoods and works its way up to nations. So if you're taking that approach, right, all those tools are great. If we're being honest, I was fortunate, right? When I got one of my first jobs was as a tech, right? So I was working in shops, doing all these fun things that techs get to do. Right. So I got to learn a little bit, but not everybody. I would say, in fact, the majority of people really never get that close to a vehicle, right? And especially not to tires. And so, having those other forums, those other channels, those other mediums where we can reach people and educate them where they are, right? I think that would be really, really cool to see that continue to develop. And I'm pretty confident that with the folks on this call, especially, right, that's something that will continue to develop.
Yeah, it takes that
I think
proactivity.
I think too, Mark, if I can jump in, if that's okay. I think we can, also the data. The data is really interesting to me. And I think it was 2 years ago, we teamed up with Discount to do a survey. And we asked just 10 simple questions, and the results were staggering. And I think you were talking about some of those on your podcast with us, but 53% of those 240 plus million drivers don't really know how to check their tread wear. They don't really know when to rotate their tires. They don't know the importance of a tire pressure. And so, again, as we're looking to sort of make a culture shift, I would love to be able to see the data again, 2 years now, where we are currently and what does that look like. And so we tried to make it actually fun. And we also wanted to know, I think Discount and USTMA wanted to know, do people know what a tire pressure monitoring system light looks like? And so we sort of use that symbol against other emojis. And that was also pretty staggering that most people don't know what a TPMS light looks like, which is critical. And, that is like, so it's basic, but I would like to do a little bit of survey work so that, data can inform this next initiative as well. And then I also think about, who are we missing? We talked about youth, but what about low literacy? What about, second English as a second language? Maybe we can pull in some diversity, which would be really critical too. And I would look towards partners that might be able to help us there as well.
Yeah, I love the diversity touch. I think that's such an important thing today, especially. Now, you mentioned TPMS, Kevin. I have to come to you. I know you guys did a lot of work on it this year, and it's a big thing you're behind. So I have to take the opportunity. How did that go? What was the big success with TPMS on your side?
Well, again, I think from the TPMS side of it, we're really trying to educate the retailers to keep up with technology. I mean, it's very new to the tire industry, even though it's been around since 2008. I mean, here we are 15 years later, and it's still new to a lot of people. But we've never really had to worry about the electronics of the vehicle when we were doing tires. And I think introducing TPMS has been a learning curve for a lot of dealers, but I think a lot of them are getting complacent, just like, oh, it'll be okay to leave the light on, or not my problem, not my car. And so, I mean, there's an education component there as well. And I think that was part of our initiative was again, just get the tool updated. I don't care whose tool you've got. I don't care what brand you're using, but make sure that it's been updated, recently, because that's what's going to make a difference in terms of keeping these systems in operation. And, to Kim's point, they don't know what the light looks like. More importantly, if they know what the light looks like, what does it mean? Okay, I mean, we hear it all the time, the idiot lights, right? Oh, the idiot light came on, or like that. Well, those lights have a purpose. I mean, some of them are minor, some of them are major. I mean, sometimes they want to see more lights, and I got 2 lights on the left, I only have 1 light on the right, so I get another one on the right, and I'm balanced out. I mean, type thing. It's really kind of scary that people are willing to drive their vehicles with these warning lights on their driver information center. And what do they mean? I mean, well, this light's on, but it still works. The ABS light's on, but it still stops. The check engine light's on, but it still runs. Well, the tire light's on, but I'm still moving. But not for long, not for long, not for long. I mean, I think it's that thing also is that vehicles are expensive to maintain. I mean, and I think that getting consumers to understand that and recognize it and take ownership over it is going to benefit all of us in the long run. But certainly it's a goal that I don't know if we'll ever achieve it, at least probably not in my career. I'm on the tail end now, so hopefully somebody after me will figure it out. But we're just trying to make sure people are aware of what can happen. And we said before in the podcast, what are the positive steps you can take to prevent it? What are the positive steps you can take to improve performance, lower cost per mile, get better gas mileage, better handling, all those benefits that come out of, playing your part, again, to pivot back, they're going to benefit you, the driver, you, the motorist, and all of us. I mean, let's face it, a car loses control at highway speed, it's going to hit other cars. I mean, and I drive in DC traffic and Baltimore traffic, and I know Kim's fighting the same thing. You got a lot of cars moving at high speed, real close to each other. Something goes wrong, it's gonna pile up fast. And that we all try and do our part to, I'm a tire dork, so I can't help it. Right? I'm a couple of pounds low and I'm already freaking out about it, but that's me. I got issues way beyond that. But I think it's just something that I don't know if we can create a nation of tire geeks or tire dorks, but certainly what we can do is make them aware and conscious of what they can do. And then once you've passed that point, then go to your professional, then go to that next step. Then, you got to take the initiative. It's not going to just take care of itself. But if you take the initiative and pay attention to a few simple things, then you can take it to that professional and get those problems solved, save yourself money, improve safety, and then on down the line.
Yeah, that's a fantastic call to action. I think that many of us can take forward, myself included, I think, is being more preventative in that way. One of my favorite things you actually said during our podcast, which still sticks with me, is it wasn't an issue until it was.
Yeah.
I love that line because it's so true. Your check engine light's on, your TPMS light's on, you keep driving, and then something happens and you go, oh, well, it's not an issue until now.
Yeah.
But that light means
it's been a problem. Now it is.
Yeah.
And you could have prevented the problem. That's the thing, is if you would have fixed the problem at the beginning, it would have been a lot easier, simple, and cheaper.
Yeah.
But now you've waited and now it's complex.
Yeah.
So now instead of just getting a flat tire repaired like Kim got, she's replacing a tire, and now they don't have the tire, and the tire's on order. So now you've got and it can spiral out of control so fast. But again, we say that in all my training classes. It isn't a problem until it is.
Yeah. I love that.
And it's a very, very wise words that somehow I came up with. I don't know how.
I'm attesting them to you, no matter what.
I'll take it. I'm gonna take credit for that one.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's fantastic and a great call to action, I think, for many of us listening. As I mentioned, Chris, coming to you, final call to actions for the audience. What can you project forward? What do you want people to remember moving through the year?
Yeah, I think it would just be that, hey, it's one of those things, it doesn't take long, right? And the benefits, to Kevin's point, they're so great. There's so many carrots, so to speak, right? You get better gas mileage, right? I mean, there's, you're not wearing unevenly, right? I mean, when you're balanced, there's so many things that are carrots out there, but the stick is also really bad. And you may not see the stick very often, but when you do see the stick, you'll really wish you hadn't, right?
You'll feel it.
Yeah. You're going to
feel that stick.
Yeah. And look, as somebody who's put many years, 50,000 plus years on vehicles, right, in a single year, it's one of those things. It pays to take a couple minutes up front before that trip, right, to just do it once over. And if you don't know, one of the big things I would say is, if nothing else, if we can do a good job about just getting people to the next step, right? Hey, you saw the light come on, you know exactly where you need to go, right? Maybe some things you can check right away on your own, okay? Maybe it is as simple as you pull into the gas station and you reinflate them all and, okay, we're good to go, right? If you still see something wrong, though, you know where you need to go next, right? So I think that would be what I would love to see. And that's what I hope is that, for everybody, what you can do for your part, but you also know when you get beyond your capacity, where you need to go to get help.
Yeah, great final call. And that's all we want to do is advance that pylon forward year on year. And I think that's a great next step to think about for many of us watching and listening. Kim, I'll give the final word to you on call to actions and what you want people to take away, of course, with your association piloting the program and, of course, all your associated brands. What's your final word when we look at the year ahead? What do we want people to really remember?
I think just from a macro picture, almost every aspect of our lives involves some form of transportation on tires. And I cannot underscore the importance of that. If you bring it home just to yourself, think about how many people you love and care about, friends, family, children, grandparents, who are driving. And if nothing else, it is just a critical thing to stop and pause and to take account for what you can do. And there are simple steps that you can do right here, right now, to take care of the people that you love. And then you grow that exponentially, and you talk to friends and neighbors, and then it can go on and on and on. So this does not have to be complicated. It starts here, it's simple. And if nothing else, you have organizations and resources that have lots to offer you out there. Anyline's videos, TIA's videos, USTMA's videos, it's there. You can search it on Google if you've got any questions. And then, so number one, consider what's riding on tires and how important that is to you and to the ecosystem in which we live. Number two, know that there are plenty of resources there to support you. And number three, when in doubt, you have a tire professional that can really help. And I think all of our organizations are, can support people who are looking for an expert if they need one. And next year, I'm looking forward to more partners in some of those categories that we talked about. And again, empowering American motorists to do what they need to do to drive safely.
Yeah, absolutely. And a great final word. And I think that's exactly it. Empowering everyone. There's our resources available, as you mentioned, plenty to look around at and educate yourself and help to move things that much forward. Listen, everyone, thank you so very much. Kim, Kevin, Chris, it's been a fantastic time talking. I really enjoy our times together. We've spent a few hours now, and I love our conversations. I always learn so much. So I'm really, really grateful to both of you, and thank you for letting us be a part of everything this year as well. I know our teams learned a lot, and we're taking that forward on the commercial space, as you are to your associations and to all of your followers. So I want to send a big thank you to all three of you. Thank you so much for all the information today and all the insights. And of course, a big thank you to all of you who are attending. Again, this webinar is recorded, so you'll get it in your inbox within the next 24 hours. You can share it with colleagues. Please do one share. That's all we ask, and help spread this message that little bit further. All right, so with that, we'll bring the session to a close. Again, thank you to all of my panelists and to our guests. We'll see everyone very soon on another Anyline webinar. Wishing you all a fantastic rest of your week and weekend ahead. Have a great summer. Be safe out there on the roads. We'll talk to you soon, everyone. Bye for now. All right, everybody.